Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's just with Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things nerdy through a common sense lens. And Disney has had a little bit of a mishap with their track record on their live action remakes, right? We had some early years with some really great success. They had some billion-dollar box offices. Things went really, really well. And then, of course, we got our Little Mermaid. Obviously, a lot of people had issues with the race swap on that one. There was some very cringy songs that really didn't hit very well with the audiences. There was a lack of some of the original music that fans weren't a big fan on. And although Halle Berry was nothing but sweet to all of the fans and the audiences out there, the movie just didn't end up doing very well, and Little Mermaid flopped. Well, then, of course, we had the Snow White come after that one, and we all saw what happened with Rachel Zegler and the audience response to that entire meltdown of insanity. So needless to say, things haven't been going exactly all that well. Now, of course, we had our live-action Lilo and Stitch that ended up doing really, really well last year, but boys and girls, whether or not Disney has had a track record of a mixed bag with their success or failures on their quote-unquote live-action adaptations, because really, especially now, especially after Seven Dwarfs and with this new Moana one, we definitely very much are seeing more of, I don't know, the Who Framed Roger Rabbit live action, where it's a hybrid of animation and all of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, no matter Disney's track record with live action successes or failures, one thing has been consistent throughout Hollywood no matter what. And that is, if your trailer, especially your first one, and especially if all of your subsequent trailers don't change this afterwards, if your trailer gets ratioed into oblivion by the fans out there on the internet, your movie is destined for failure. You will not make a profit. And if you can find one single example of me being wrong, of all of the trailers getting ratioed into oblivion and a movie still succeeding, please let me know about it in the comments in the section down below, because trust me, I have tried and I haven't seen one thing in my entire time reporting on this that shows me any evidence otherwise. Because as of right now, it looks like the Moana live action adaptation is destined to be Disney's next big disastrous dumpster fire at the box office. Because as you can see here from the headline, Moana live action teaser trailer gets brutal ratio on YouTube with mass dislikes similar to Snow White. And we saw what happened there. And even a trailer being overwhelmingly liked by the fans out there does not necessarily equal out success either. We've seen plenty of trailers that have done just fine, and they've still failed at the box office. But one thing that is always guaranteed to predict a box office failure consistently is whether or not your trailer gets ratioed into oblivion. And Moana's live action teaser trailer has had that exact thing happen to him. So obviously, we've also going to review the trailer as well. It's only about a minute long. We've already done that, so we'll insert that here later into the video as well when we get into there. But yeah, we're going to check out all of the disastrous dumpster fires of this trailer ratio, because it's gotten even worse since this article has been written. And boys and girls, we've got, of course, the wonderful comment section that Disney is so kind to all of us out there. And leave it open so we can all figure out exactly what the audience is thinking. And then, of course, something that shows you exactly how bad this thing really will end up being. Even the critic of critics and the critical critic, Grace Randolph, and WW Pro agree on the Moana trailer, and neither one of them like it. And that's never a good sign for any project out there, boys and girls. So we're going to check out this article. We're going to hit all of the juicy details and, of course, watch that teaser trailer with you guys as well. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding. We are growing. We just crossed 2,400. We're on our way to 25 on our journey to 100,000. I think we're sitting at like 2,411, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. What do you think of all of this? Did you watch the Moana live action trailer? What did you think of the teaser? Do you think it's good? Does it sound fun to you? Or does it look like abysmal trash and you can understand why everybody's ratioing it all the way down? Do you think this is just some kind of crazy internet fan backlash? Do you believe, like I do, that this will absolutely be a determining factor for the box office? Or are you excited to see this and it'll probably end up making another billion-dollar movies like a lot of these ones have in the past? Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. If you want to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well, because those memberships do go a long way. Surprisingly enough, considering the size of this channel, this is my full-time job, boys and girls. All right, by the grace of God, from thatparkplace.com and our dear sweet Cham Lee. Moana live action teaser trailer gets brutal ratio on YouTube with massive dislikes like Snow White. Disney's released its first look at its live-action Moana. But the bigger story isn't the visuals, the music, or even the cast. It's the Moana trailer dislikes, a flood of them, that hit YouTube almost immediately. And this was at the time of the writing of this article, which was the 19th of November. So this was earlier in the day at the time of this recording. And guess what? It's gotten a lot worse since then. The teaser sat at 32,000 likes and 59,000 dislikes, a lopsided ratio that's becoming eerily familiar. If this is deja vu kicking in for you, there's a reason. It's exactly what happened to Snow White before that film face planted at the box office. And we know that one lost Disney hundreds of millions of dollars. This is a movie that went through reshoots and delays and re-edits over and over and over again. I don't know if we'll ever know what the actual budget was for that movie, but it's easily in the $300 to $400, maybe even $500 million range. And that thing, didn't even crack $200 million globally at the box office? Yeah. And as of right now, all of the signs are pointing for Moana to go in that same direction. And the funny part about it is, right, this has nothing to do with a race swap or a gender swap or anything like that. All of these characters, outside of the little activists out there online, which we know that those guys, based on Hogwarts Legacy and everything else out there, those guys don't actually amount to any actual monetary value in a box office, right? Outside of them having a little meltdown because they thought the chick wasn't dark enough for the role because of some pictures they saw online from her. Hate to tell you, as a Mexican, we get lighter if we're inside all the time. And if you stick us out in the sun, we get darker. I would imagine it's the same way for Hawaiians. Okay. But anyway, that being beside the point, this isn't a race swap. This isn't a gender swap, right? There's none of those giant red flags that are glaringly obvious that this thing's going to be an issue or that there's an agenda behind it. No, that's not causing this. What's causing this? Well, WW Pro, aka the bane of Bob Iger and all things Disney as far as his leaks and bashing and calling the truth out about what that company's doing, he responds and agrees with Grace Randolph, the self-proclaimed feminist Hollywood critic. What did Grace say about the trailer? This feels like someone fed the original animated movie Moana into AI and said, make it live action. Grace Randolph, Spirit of the Age champion, allegedly basically on Disney's payroll. And she's saying this. What does Critic of the Critics say? WW Pro? Grace, you and I agree? Yeah. And guess what? It's not just the critics and the critics of critics and the critical critics. No, it's the general audience. And hate to tell you, general audiences decide what fails and what succeeds more than any Hollywood marketing team, more than any critic, whether they be shill or critic of the critics. Fans decide above all other things. And guess what? Hollywood, you're not going to be able to blame all them racists and sexists out there for this one failing at the box office because you ain't got none of that in this one. So this is where we get to it, right? What did they say over at thatparkplace.com? At the time of their reporting, it was 32,000 likes and 59,000 dislikes. At the time of the recording, which is at essentially 1:18 p.m. Central Standard Time, so no more than 12 hours from when they wrote that article, it is now at 76,000 dislikes, a jump of almost 20,000 dislikes in just a few hours, and only 4,000 more likes. Now at this point, I'll pause for a second and insert my trailer review so you guys can have common nerds a very humble opinion on things. And remember, always take my opinion with a grain of salt. I liked Black Adam after all. But at the end of the day, boys and girls, my opinion is my opinion. The fans decide what succeeds and what fails. So enjoy my opinion before we get to all of those wonderful comments on the YouTube ratioed into oblivion live action teaser for Moana. All right. X-Tarlena was asking for my opinion on Twitter about the new Disney Moana trailer. So boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Apparently Pro and Grace Randolph both don't like this. And they agree. And that is weird. So let's find out. Let's see what we got here.
I am a girl who loves my island.
Okay, the voice doesn't sound bad. So far. We'll see how it goes. That's just the intro. But the voice doesn't sound so bad so far.
And the girl who loves the sea, it calls me.
Nice voice. I mean, I think it's probably just it's like just kind of a more orchestra version of the original soundtrack. And which I do like the music from Moana. So, yeah.
If the wind in my sail on the sea stays behind me, one day I'll know how far I'll go. I am Moana.
I have to admit, I saw this still earlier on Twitter. I am not a big fan. Cute kid and all. Not sure exactly I'm a big fan. But I can definitely see what some people are saying about like some of the AI aspects and stuff of this. And maybe it's just because I'm kind of biased and I've been working a lot with Sora 2 lately. But yeah, this all could have easily been created in Sora 2. Which, considering Disney is supposed to be like the premier home of like animation and stuff like that, to have your stuff basically being on the same par as that and being compared to that, no. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. Oh wait, that's it. That's just 59 seconds. That's all we got. Wow. That is it. I do love the chicken. That is it. Wow. And mind you, the extent of the longest clip you can get with the free version of Sora 2 is 15 seconds. So literally, this is the equivalent of like 4 Sora clips is all this is. Wow. Let's go through this a little bit more. Okay. The detail is not great on this, and as far as I know, we've got this in this is 804. See if we 804 quality is the highest we can get. So, given this isn't like the 1080p version, all right, maybe we should go to YouTube just to be completely fair. All right, see if we can find the Moana live action trailer. Obviously, that's pretty easy to find. Okay, so this is 2 days ago. Okay, so now this is gonna be this should give us like the actual like. Did they not even upload this thing in 4K? Okay, so they did at least upload a 4K version. All right, so we'll swap that over. We should get 4K. We're plugged in. We're network cabled in. We should be able to get the high quality. The ratio is bad though. The ratio is bad, and I think this will end up being part of our video of the ratio being bad because a lot of fans are not happy with this. And at the end of the day, the problem with that is more often than unless a later trailer changes, you can check the history on this, and I haven't found a single example that says otherwise. But there has not been a single movie out there whose trailers have all gotten ratioed into oblivion, and it still succeeded at the box office. Because this is your true general audience. This is everybody in this. All right, so let's look at this again. Let's give them the full fairness of their 4K trailer. Still not exactly looking all that much better. The detail really still is better in this version. I can see that. but still not exactly the Disney standards you'd expect. Not to mention, once again, this is supposed to be a live action remake. Does this look live action to you? Right? Does this look live action to you? Or does this look more of that hybrid animation slop we've been getting with like Snow White and The Little Mermaid and everything else? Right? And even then, you know, we've seen combinations of live action and animation done well. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a prime example of doing that extremely well. Right? Also a property now owned by Disney. So they've got better examples in their own vault of them doing this right. Extra Linus to stop screaming acting person. You only be a meme. If AI songs can make fun of Snow White remake trailer, this will land in the same category. It probably will. It probably will. I'm Diana Gal Muscadet. Yes, wrong movie. You're a Wonder Woman. Oh, this is not Disney quality I've come to expect. That's because this is the Bob Iger company. Ooh, good point, Griffin. Good point. And if you guys would also like to see your comments had, we do these live Monday through Friday, or weekdays at 11 a.m. We normally off Tuesdays.
I am a girl who
Like I said, it does look better in 4K. But this doesn't look to me like an actual live shot. You know, think about what we've seen with like Peter Jackson and his filming in New Zealand, which was 20 years ago, by the way, and compare that to what we're seeing right now. I want fans to be happy with this stuff. So far, that's not what's happening at all. And the trailer alone, the ratio alone shows that.
loves my island, and the girl who loves
Now, the water shots, I do have to admit, those look pretty good.
the sea.
I do like those.
It
This is cute.
calls me.
But it just like so much of this looks like, why couldn't you get a more realistic looking seashell to do this? I don't know. And I mean, it literally just looks like it was stripped right out of the movie. Like, I haven't seen the original in a long time, but like this looks like it's just like, this just looks very similar to the animation we've already seen. There's no updated nothing to this. And I mean, this part's right here are the most real any of this has looked. I mean, you could at least see the hairs on the guy's arm, you know, while he's beating on the drum. But like,
If the wind in my sail on the sea stays
and the Maui kind of animation looked pretty snazzy. But once again, I mean, we saw glowy stuff like this in Avatar almost 20 years ago at this point now. 10 years, 15 years ago.
behind me,
That doesn't look so bad.
one day I'll know how far I'll go.
I still do like her voice. I do think she sounds good. But once again, I'm the guy that liked Black Adam, so take my opinion with a giant grain of salt.
I am Moana.
But yes, Miss Glow's right, or X Tarlina's right. This is going to get turned into a meme. This is probably going to be the face for the thumbnail. Ooh. I still love the chicken. I don't care. Yeah. All right. Let's consider that our review of the trailer. Not exactly, nothing groundbreaking. Nothing groundbreaking in that at all. The ratio's bad. And I think as soon as we're done giving our final thoughts, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into that video. Because, yeah, no. That just doesn't look like, I mean, it's nothing new that we haven't seen before. Some of it doesn't look all that as detailed and fancy as it should. This is supposed to be a live action remake, and it looks like you took some real characters and slapped them into Sora 2 and had them fill in the background and said do it in a Disney animation style like you did Snow White and Little Mermaid. So I don't know. Not looking great. Not looking great. And that trailer, that ratio tells you everything we need to know. And it's 6.8 million views. Wow. All right. Hope you enjoyed that, boys and girls. So here we go into the comment section of the most recently blasted into oblivion Disney disastrous dumpster fire of a trailer. So here's Casto. Says, got to give credit for leaving the comments open. That one always happens. Just wait till we get to the live action Zootopia with real animated animals. The term live action is doing some real heavy lifting here. Obviously talking about all of the CGI issues as well. Came to read the comments. Didn't disappoint. The animated OG Moana film isn't nearly old enough for a live action remake. And apparently that's been a big enough complaint for it to actually end up in That Park Place's article over this. Because that's the thing. A lot of people aren't thinking this one's old enough for that. I mean, what? You just had the sequel come out, a couple of years ago? Has it even been a year yet? Right? And we all know that was nothing more than what was supposed to be a television show over like 10 episodes that they just chopped down, slammed it into a movie and pumped it out. And guess what? They made like $700-800 million on it. So it worked. And guess what? We're right back at it. Another cash grab, because that's what these are. These are sequels and remakes for a company that is completely out of original ideas. And even if they weren't, the audiences don't trust their original ideas anymore. Sequels and remakes are the only thing that makes them any money, because it's just like Wicked 2 will probably make more money than Wicked 1. Why? Because general audiences, not just Disney fans, not just Marvel fans, not just DC fans, not just nerds, general audiences out there do not trust what Hollywood is putting out there, right? So even with Wicked and the massive fan base it has, and it still did good at the box office, right? But a good section of the audience out there, despite their love for Wicked, despite their curiosity about the movie, did not go and see it. They waited until it came on streaming, right? To where they could rent it or watch it for free because it's already on one of the streaming services they subscribe to, right? They watch it. They like it. Now the second one is going to do better than the first one. This is unheard of, okay? Think about the history of Hollywood, the over 100 years of history of Hollywood. When has a sequel, an actual legitimate sequel, not a trilogy, a sequel, done better at the box office than the original? I'm sure there's examples out there, but it is not the rule. It is the exception. We now live in an era where the audience is so distrusting of Hollywood, they will wait till they get to watch something essentially for free. And if they like it, they'll make your sequel more successful. That's how much trust Hollywood in general has lost. And that, boys and girls, is absolutely insane. I feel like creativity is illegal nowadays. So basically it's still animated with just live humans inserted into it. Who Framed Roger Rabbit with less live action sets. Just when you thought the CGI dwarves were the most terrifying thing, CGI Hey enters the chat. I didn't think he was that bad. When I first saw this reposted by someone online, I thought it was AI generated. Turns out I was wrong. Well, actually, you might not be, because Bob Iger and Disney already said they're absolutely working with AI and seeing how it can enhance their workflow. Essentially replace all of their animators that are the talentless hacks because they were just hired based on their own personal agenda. Or, yeah, actually, that's really all they've mostly got left over there at Disney. So, yeah, this is why we get this. This is why we get this. This guy says, I love the Treasure Planet fans. Shout out to you hardcore Treasure Planet fans. I love you guys. There's Treasure Planet, Atlantis. There's Princess and the Frog. And we got a movie that isn't even 10 years old yet. This feels like a fan-made trailer. We owe Percy Jackson movies an apology. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? I mean, like I said, the Lilo and Stitch one did really well. So Why my hair salon aesthetics for her hair? She had a perfectly good island curls. There you go. If I saw this movie on a plane, I would still walk out. I love those comments. There is no life in this action. Even in the comments, I didn't need a remake of this. It's already perfect. Disney, what can I say except you're welcome. You didn't ask for it, so we're making it. Coming out with a theatrical sequel last year and a live action remake 2 years later is crazy work. Exactly. Right? The fans feel this is unnecessary. This is unneeded. Not to mention, most of them don't seem to like your CGI either. That's what the audience thinks. And like I said, why? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? This stuff looks ridiculous. This is not the quality, the excellence, the innovation that Walt dreamed of constantly, what the Imagineers were supposed to be about, what having your Disney animators right there where you could walk through and see what they're doing and seeing their recreations. That's not what any of this is. But of course, as we all know, this isn't Walt's company anymore and hasn't been for a long time. Bob Iger said in an interview flat out that he doesn't believe Walt Disney should be revered, right? He shouldn't be looked to as an example of what to always do. The question of what would Walt do is gone from that company. And now they just want to erase so much of that as possible and just do their own garbage and their own nonsense. It's not the Walt Disney Company anymore, and it hasn't been for a long time. It's the Bob Iger Corporation. And this right here is the latest example of it. The nice part is the audience is very well aware of what you're doing, and they've just ratioed your latest trailer into oblivion. And unless things change in the next couple of trailers, guess what? Yeah, your live action Moana gonna flop, boys and girls, because history doesn't just repeat itself, it also rhymes. So you can break down the trailer if you want to. Maui shape-shifting for a quick comedic beat. Thought that looked cool. Familiar musical line. I thought that sounded nice. Sounded like an orchestra version of it. Thought that was great. Kakamora making a brief appearance. Sweeping ocean visuals. Moana honor cameos. Disney wants this movie to be a global event, but if the first 24 hours are any indication, the studio may have a serious messaging problem on its hands. These Moana trailer dislikes may simply reflect remake fatigue, distrust in CGI, leftover frustration from Disney's recent missteps, or all of the above. It's all of the above. It really is. This is what Disney has done to their fan base. This is what Hollywood has done to their audience. We explained it earlier as to why Wicked 2 very well might do better than the first one. This is what you've done. You catered to a modern audience that didn't exist in enough numbers to actually make you profitable for the amount of money you were spending. You ignored or insulted your actual audience. And now nobody trusts you anymore. So, yeah, congratulations. You've done it to yourself. What's clear is the reaction is not passive. It's active, organized, and accelerating. If Moana follows the path of Snow White, we already know what the ending looks like. And it's not a happily ever after that Disney is hoping for. And this is what it comes down to. This is exactly what we have been trying to make everybody aware of for a long time. The race swaps, the gender swaps, all of that stuff, they're just red flags because they're virtue signaling for a company who can't write their way out of a wet paper bag. They just can't. They don't have any original ideas left because all of the creative and talented people they had were actually common sense folks. They didn't get down with an ideology one way or another. They just wanted to create. They just wanted to be in their flow, in the divinity of creation, of creating a beautiful new world and expanding and pushing the boundaries of the technology and what they could do. That's what the Walt Disney Company used to be about. That's what Pixar used to be about. That's what Lucasfilm used to be about. I mean, they set the standard for CGI and advanced technology and all of that kind of stuff. And this is where we're at now. A company who decided to knock off the virtue signaling because it didn't work. But the problem is the damage was already done. They destroyed all of the talent they had. And this is all you're going to get from Disney until executive leadership change. And this is the end result of all of that, of years of virtue signaling, which at the end of the day, we found out that's all it really was. They had no problem changing things for marketing, whether it be shrinking Finn on the Star Wars poster or putting T'Challa's mask on him for China. Like, we know all of this is bitch doing and virtue signaling. This was Bob Iger and the rest of his executive horde out there thinking they were going to jump on the hot, new, trendy thing with kids and it would advance their political career. And when all of that blew up, they were stuck. They doubled down. They tripled down. They bashed the fans. They hired insane people that drove their company into the toilet and drove off all of the talent they actually had. Bob Iger is not a creative and he never has been. He's a guy who buys things and then drives them into the toilet. And that's exactly what he's done. Give me an example of one thing Bob Iger has acquired and made better at this stage in his career. Pixar, how'd that work out with the last few movies? How'd that work out for any originals out of that? Disney animation, right? That one was already part of the company. Marvel, how's that box office working out for him over the last few years? Star Wars? Give me an example of one thing they've improved overall in the last 20 years. You can't. It doesn't exist. Because this is what happens at the Bob Iger Corporation. The race swaps and the gender swaps were just red flags. They were virtue signaling to cover up for a bunch of talentless hacks that couldn't write their way. Apparently, I can't speak my way out of a wet paper bag today either. Write their way out of a wet paper bag. They are the kind of people out there you would put in a round room, tell them to go pee in a corner, and they'd come back out and tell you they did. Right? These people have no idea what they're doing. They got their jobs based on identity politics and not on the content of their character, not on the quality of their work. And now that is showing. Because now you're not going to be able to blame us racists and sexist when Moana flops at the box office. What are you going to do then? Because at the end of the day, Disney danced with the devil in the pale moonlight. Bob Iger believed all of his lies and all of the promises about his bright, happy future. And what did that get him? A company that is now billions of dollars in debt. Its stock is down. And every one of their projects ends up like this. Are they still going to make a profit every once in a while here and there? Sure. Even a broke clock's right twice a day. But Moana, with this kind of ratio and this kind of trailer, is destined for one place only. A disastrous dumpster fire at the box office. And guess what? After all, Bobby boy, you did this to yourself. A big shout out to all of our subscribers and members out there. Thanks for watching, and make sure you guys like and subscribe if you have not already.